Welcome to Courageous Conviction. Remember that Jeff and I record each Saturday 5 episodes. So please hit the like button, subscribe so you catch all 5 episodes. We usually start out with one theme or topic. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes to really understand it. Some things are more sensitive than others right now, what's going on in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe, and let's jump into this video.
We're going to get together and we're going to figure out a way to make sure that these kinds of things don't happen. And of course, the police will be called and say, hey, we believe these people are doing drugs. That is still illegal as far as I'm concerned, and they can act on it. We'll get them out of there. Going back to the whole, Christ thing, I think we have to be Christ-like. But you know what sets us apart from other Christians, and here's the biggest deal is like today, what are we talking about? What happened to Christ? Christ has already been crucified, and so he goes to the spirit world. Other Christians don't talk about this because they want to believe that Christ didn't go to the spirit world. He went to heaven, and that the thief went to heaven, because they assume that that's paradise. It's not, so because, and we know that by reading the Bible. Well, we know that through Revelation, but and then going back and confirming that through the Bible. And I think that's the way things have to be done. So you've got these, not to like be all over the place, but the difference between the Church of Jesus Christ, the restored church, is that the truth is there. You can find it in the Bible, but it relies on, look at Joseph F. Smith's, vision of where Christ went, which is very important, and how he set up the teaching of those spirits that never heard the gospel of Jesus Christ. If you've got, a very large percentage of the world population that had ever lived that had never heard of Jesus Christ, that's a really big deal. So when Isaiah is talking about and other prophets of that marvelous work and a wonder, and that the hearts of the children be turned toward their parents and vice versa, then all of a sudden we start realizing that things like the connection that we have with the people that have lived, our ancestors, and getting them that those saving ordinances, done vicariously through temple work that we do, and we're the only church that does that, giving everybody an opportunity to accept Christ, whether or not they were born in China and never heard of Jesus Christ, or some other place in the world, or some other time in the world. I mean, that's why really, the church has restored these important truths, because nobody else teaches that. So, if you really don't have Christ in your life, or if you think you have Christ and you are trying to do things, like the way you saw it, there was a difference in this with this so-called Christian there in California that you've had a negative experience with, who's not going to pay you now. I'm like, that's not right, So, hey, other Christians can either get on board. They don't really like us, Pew Studies. I saw a research there that showed that members of the LDS Church are more loving and more accepting of all other religions, and yet, the same thing doesn't happen with evangelical Christians and other forms of Protestantism, and maybe the Catholics are a little bit better toward the LDS, but you've got these Christians who hate us, I mean, in every sense of the word, and so they look for opportunities to take us down, and they think that we're going to be sorry. I was told that by another Christian who claims that we're praying to a different Jesus and all that. I'm like, well, you know what? That's the Jesus that I understand is the Jesus that really loves the whole world, and is giving everybody the greatest opportunity to come back to him, to our Father in heaven through him. And what a better way, than to look at, understanding, like in John 14, 15 through 16 and 26 through 27, if you love me, keep my commandments. That, that doesn't sound to me like, say the name Jesus and you're saved. Hey, I don't know what happened, but we did lose Eric back there with technical difficulties there in California. So we just wanted to close this up here. Easter, happy Easter. We want to have that really a bigger focused on Easter and Christ and what that means. Christ being in the spirit world. What did he do there? I think that's not a spoken or well understood doctrine and history of what Jesus Christ did. It's in the Bible. Peter speaks of it, that Christ went to preach to the dead, to the spirit prison, those that were in prison at the time of the flood. But we know that through Revelation that means all of those that have never heard the gospel of Jesus Christ or never had a real good chance to accept it during their mortal life. That's why Paul talks about baptisms for the dead when those were things that were practiced by early Christians. We know this. It's all history as well as, it is in the Bible as well. And why are these things done? Isaiah talks about a marvelous work and a wonder, and that the hearts of the fathers will be turned toward their children and the children toward their fathers. What could that possibly mean, a marvelous work and a wonder? Well, it ties in the whole world community. All the world that it's ever lived has an ability, we're all children, daughters and sons of, spiritual daughters and sons of our Father in heaven. And, this is the greatest, the most marvelous work that could possibly happen, is that it's all inclusive. All of God's children are important, not just 0.0001% or 0.00001% of the world that gets to get the right church and make it to heaven. That's not a just God. There is no other religion except the restored Church of Jesus Christ that teaches these principles. And it's overlooked in the Bible, and through modern day revelation, we understand, Joseph F. Smith, a prophet, years ago, had a vision about what Jesus was doing during that preaching of those souls that had passed on, that had lived, their lives already. And they were waiting to be able to hear these gospel truths and be able to accept ordinances like baptism by immersion, by somebody else doing them for them. These are amazing things. These are things to be happy about. That's what the gospel is the good news, is that, hey, this involves everybody that's willing to accept Christ into their heart. And going back to Christ is just the most important aspect that we can, we have to go back to Christ. We are a Christ-centered nation. We were founded on Christian principles. We are not a Muslim nation. We have Muslims in our nation. We have other religions in our nation, and they're well accepted, by us. But we're always going to teach the gospel, because there is one true God and one faith and one baptism, and we know that to be true. It's not to put down other religions. It's just to say, hey, there's more to it, and there should be. So that's exciting. I know that things, in my past, when I was looking at other religions, just didn't jive because of that one issue. It's got to be a more loving God that we're going after, that we're trying to understand. And when we get to truly understand God, and we really understand the gospel of Jesus Christ, we understand these truths to be the most powerful truths that bring in all mankind. When I was, afflicted with drugs and alcoholism in my life, I wrote this story, Revving the Soul, and my journey back to God. I think this is a great book. It's on Amazon, Revving the Soul. I have been selling lots of copies and getting lots of great feedback on it. And you too can read this. And I help other people get off drugs and alcohol and gambling and pornography. And I've got a history of doing this. I've focused on men, but women are invited as well. I have a lot of women clients, and you can go to www.transformthemind.org and check out my website. And I do a very and I'm open to helping people if they don't have any money. I'll work with them. The main thing is that if they're trying to fight addiction, that there's resources out there. There's lots of different resources, not just mine, but in this case, I think this is a very I use a unique method of rapid transformational therapy. Transformative. It's a transformative therapy that implements hypnotherapy as well as other forms of modern psychological techniques, all science-based, to help people locate those root causes of addiction and remove those root causes and think of those causes of addiction as with something else, with a fresh mind, and reprogram the mind so that these addictions can just go away. Obviously, I believe that through the atonement of Jesus Christ, this is the most powerful way of removing addictions. But we need things in like counseling and healthcare professionals that are dedicated to help people get off drugs and alcohol, because these are not easy things to remove from our lives. But they're easier than you'd think. So there's a lot of success in that. www.transformthemind.org. If you have a friend, if you yourself are struggling with addiction, check me out, and write me a note. And if money is an issue, that should never be an issue to get help. And I just want to see other people find freedom from addiction the way I have. And as I mentioned, it was the real gospel of Jesus Christ that helped me completely remove these addictions out of my life. There is no counting of days. I don't talk to people like I'm in recovery anymore, because I'm not. I don't think about drugs or alcohol at all. It's just I'm indifferent to it. And the opposite of hate is to be indifferent. So when we're indifferent to drugs and alcohol, it just doesn't affect us. And so that's the key there. Anyway, I appreciate your attendance here, and with Courageous Conviction, I hope you have a wonderful Easter weekend and Easter Sunday, and remember Christ. Over and out.